What's up, light keepers? This is Dr. Freeze at the Lighthouse, and today I'm gonna teach you how to impact for beginners. We're gonna go over some clicking and 3 basic M1 moves that you can use in your impact show. If you like the content, give me a like and subscribe. I'm also currently offering a 50% discount on my program where I go more in depth into impacting, into strobing. We go into more advanced M1s. And I could also give you more detailed feedback directly to your own shows. If that's something you're interested in, I'll put the link in the description below. I'm super stoked for you guys to learn impacting, so let's get right to it. Now, before we get into impacting and throwing all these like crazy technical concepts, we have to learn how to click the light on. And that's just common sense because we're turning one off and then we're turning them on, right? There are really 3 main ways to click. There is the standard click, which is just clicking the light on, against your index finger like this. There's also the palm click, which is clicking it against your palm. Palm click, palm click. You could also do it with a closed fist. And so this would be also a palm click. And there's also what's called the other hand click. So you'll use your other hand to click the light on, and then you could use your other hand to click the light on. And so right there, I just use the back of my hand to click the light on, and then I could use the front of this hand to kind of click the light on like that. Now, the key for your clicks is you have to make sure that they're clean. So if you're doing a standard click like this, you want to make sure you're clicking and the light is going straight up. You don't want it off this way. You don't want it off this way. You want to make sure it's clean. Click, boom, clean, straight up, right? Straight up, straight up. You want that clean. If you're doing a palm click with the closed fist, Skittles likes to call these flashlights. You want to make sure the light is shining directly at them. And you don't want it pointed up like this. You don't want it pointed down like this. You want to make sure the presentation is right, okay? So boom, the light is shining directly at the camera or at the viewer. If you want to get into more complex clicking, like shining it through the middle of your fist, I know a lot of people when they start impacting, they want to get all crazy complex and do all these types of crazy clicks, and they don't really have the right presentation, right? So if you're going to shine it through the middle of your fist, you want to make sure your other fingers are pretty symmetrical. And then you want to make sure that it's shining directly at them. And this is super complex to do, and it requires a lot of time spent on like placement of your other fingers and of your thumb light shining directly at them. And so I highly recommend work on these standard clicks first. Work on getting them super clean where they're going straight out, even this way, right? Boom. You want it going straight and you want it clean. So don't get into like the super complex stuff until you master the basics. And that's with life in general, right? You want to master the foundations and build a solid foundation before building a house on top of it. Because if you don't have a solid foundation, all of your most complex stuff, all of this beautiful home, like you put like marble floors, marble kitchen tops, you make like the nicest bathroom with like glass windows going like 10 feet high. All of that is gonna fall and crumble without a solid foundation. And so you really wanna work on the foundations of clicking before you try and get into all this crazy stuff or like trying to do like super complex moves that require a lot of muscle memory. Now, this is where most impactors or glovers mess up, because they don't spend enough time on their clicks. They'll be gloving, and they'll just randomly kind of click the light on and then kind of show it this way. And then they'll randomly kind of switch to the blue and they'll switch from way back here. And you don't really know where the mode changes or where the color changes are happening because they're not intentional with their clicks. If you're not intentional with your clicks, it makes for really sloppy transitions and it loses a lot of intensity and a lot of that surprise factor. And remember, with impact shows, we want to surprise them so they're not expecting it at all. And we want to make sure it's intense and super unexpected. So I really want you to spend some time on your clicks. Make sure they're super clean, and that they are extremely intentional. Make sure you're not just randomly clicking it on and then kind of randomly clicking it on again. You want to be super intentional with all of the clicks that you do. These are not the only 3 ways to click. These are the 3 basic ways to click. And so don't let your mind be constricted by these constructs that I make or that other people make. Let your mind wander freely, but remember to clean up the foundations first, and then it'll make everything else that's more complicated so much more easy. You really want to learn the rules as a beginner so you can break them apart and apply them in your own way later. Now I'm going to teach you 3 different basic M1 moves that you can throw in your impact shows. And remember, like I said in the last video, the M1 light is a solid light, and so it shows all of your flaws, and you want to have clean and precise placement with all of your moves. And this is where most glovers mess up, because they don't want to put the time into perfecting the minute details in their moves. So you got to have exact finger placement. So when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure your other fingers are not like sticking out like this or like sticking out like this. You want to make sure everything is clean, and you want to have exact placement on the grid as well. And so you don't want your thumb going like this, you don't want it going like this, you want it boom, straight. Now, because we're playing with 2 main characters, a majority of the show is going to be cause and effect based. And so if this red one is out, it would be causing this other hand to kind of open and close, right? So this is what I mean by cause and effect. Boom, cause and effect. The left hand is squeezing and the right hand is going in, okay? And so we want to focus a lot on cause and effect based moves. The first basic M1 that I'm going to teach you is called the out. And this is all it is. Your thumb is going to be fully outstretched out, okay? And with this out move, you could do so much. You could move it all along the grid, all right? Let's say we rotate this hand this way. You could present it down your arm like this. And as you're doing that, we're gonna pull these fingers back, right? And then show them like this. This would be cause and effect, right? This is cause and effect. You could move it this way. And as we're doing this, we're gonna do a little finger roll here. This would be cause and effect, right? So this is all just movement along the grid with some cause and effect, right? We can move it up and down like this. We can move it in the Z plane like this. We can move it diagonally with some cause and effect finger rolls. We can do finger tuts, so we could boom, 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 or maybe we could run it in front like this. Boom, boom, boom. There's a lot of different finger tuts that we could do. We could do pass throughs, right? Pass through like this. Pass through like this. There's so many variations of moves that we could do with just the out and moving it along various places along the grid. And so you want to get comfortable with these many different out presentations. Now, the next thing you could do with your out is you could pivot the entire thing. And when you pivot the entire thing, this opens up a whole new range of possibilities. So instead of us going this way, we could pivot this thing this way, and now we could do it this way. And it's a completely different move, right? So we could do this thing right here, pivot, and now we could go this way right here, right? Completely different move. All we did was pivot the whole thing, right? Pivot, pivot, pivot. Boom, boom, right? So with this pivot, you can change up the entire set of moves just by changing the angle of it. So we could take something like wave tuts, right? So we're doing wave tuts like this. And then we could totally pivot the entire thing and then wave tut like this. And then we could kind of bring it down and then wave tut like this. We could pivot it, finger tut like this, pivot, pivot, finger tut like this, pivot, pivot, finger tut like this, pivot this way too, finger tut like this. There's a whole variety of moves that you could do with just the out and the pivot. And so again, that will open up your arsenal and give you just new varieties that you could do when you feel stuck in your moves. Now, the second basic M1 is called the in. And this is the in right here. This would be the in, this would be the in, the in. And this is a very powerful move, especially when you catch them off guard with it and you shine the light right in their face. So here we're shining the light. You could shine it down your arm like this. You could open it, you could throw it back in their face, pivot, you could trace these fingers like this, pivot, and then shine it back here. And so with just the in and the pivot, you also have opened up this like entire world of moves that you could possibly do. Once you learn the in and the out, and you start mixing them into your shows, you pretty much have unlocked impacting. With just the in and the out, you could throw an entire impact show. And so we're out here, right? Let's say we open this, in, right? Out, in, out, pivot, in, out. And then you could do some like going along the grid right here, right? And then you could go in, out, pivot, trace it like this. And this is cause and effect, right? I'm doing a finger roll with my left hand, pivot, boom, in, out, pivot, in, pass through, out, open, pass through, in, out. And so with just the in and the out, you're pretty much set. So one exercise for you to practice is practice putting your thumb in and then putting your thumb out. And when you're doing this, you want to have clean presentation, right? You don't want your thumb going up like this. You don't want it going down like this. You want it going straight out. And it looks a little different when you pivot it, right? You want it going straight up. You don't want it off to the side like this or out like that. You want it straight up and straight out. And this exercise, it takes time. So if you're like at school or something, or you're just mindlessly doing something where you don't need your hands, this is a great exercise to practice that doesn't take a lot of thinking. You just want to make sure the presentation of your thumbs is clean. And with just those two moves, you pretty much have an entire impact show in your belt. Now, the third basic M1 move is the Knuckle Roll. And this move looks pretty cool because just whoa. The Knuckle Roll is a pretty cool move, especially when it's utilized artistically. It's very easy to do, and this is the move that's most overused by beginner impactors. Because it's so easy to do and it looks cool, they overuse this Knuckle Roll, and it gets boring really quickly. Remember, with impacts, we want to surprise them in unexpected ways. And so you can definitely utilize the Knuckle Roll in your show. Just don't rely on it too much because it starts getting really predictable and boring when you overuse the Knuckle Roll. One mistake that I see in a lot of beginners is they will practice with their right hand, these in and out moves, or their dominant hand. And then with their left hand, they won't really practice as much. And so with their left hand, they'll start doing a lot of knuckle rolls. And so remember, you want to practice the in-out method with both thumbs so that you're comfortable with these moves and that you're not relying on these knuckle rolls when you're not really sure what to do. So in summary, today, I taught you the 3 different ways to click, and I also taught you the 3 different basic M1 moves that you can use in your show to throw an entire impact show. Remember to take everything slow and work on that placement. Be meticulous about the details, okay? You wanna be a scientist in there with the microscope or the magnifying glass, just analyzing every single minute detail so that it is clean. Because if you don't pay attention to those details, the viewer is gonna see it in your show. And the iNova highlights all flaws. So remember, take it slow and clean it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys got something valuable out of this video. If you want to go more in depth into impacting and go more into the advanced M1s and get a little more direct feedback from me, I have the course link below where I'm offering a limited time 50% off discount for only the next few people. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next week where I'm going to cover a little bit more about strobing. See you guys next week.